Hey guys, SoCal Val here. You are listening to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast.
Welcome, everybody, back to the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. I am your host. I haven't got a cool nickname, Andy Burrows. I am joined by my illustrious co-hosts, Mr. Dave Robinson and Adam Cousins. Evening, lads. How are we?
All good.
Yeah, good, mate. Thank you. You all right?
Yes, I am. I'm jolly good, mate. This is a first for us. But Adam, I do believe we put a little Twitter poll out last week, and Dave on our HTT Buckle at HTT Buckle, asking if there was any other promotions or anything that people wanted us to review. And Impact Wrestling was a resounding winner. So here we are doing our first ever Impact wrestling review. Obviously, Impact is recorded or goes out live on a Thursday night in the States. I watched it this morning. I subscribed to Impact Plus for £6.99 a month, another subscription I've got. And here we are doing our first ever Impact review. So Adam, Dave, let's just get a brief history of how you found Impact, because everyone has different stories. I mean, I think a lot of us are kind of around the same era when we really found Impact, and when it come over to the UK, kind of the Dixie Carter, the Jeff Jarrett, and then later the Bischoff, the Hogans, and etc. etc. But Adam, let's kick it off with you, brother. How did you find Impact? How did you find it then to what it is now? Because we will get into that in a second before we break down tomorrow night's show. It's a completely different company now.
It is. But how I first heard about it was I used to go to a lot of One Pro Wrestling shows, 1PW. I used to do nearly every show, and they used to have AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, Abyss, and I was like, oh, these guys are cool. Where did they come from? And someone said, oh, there's this thing called TNA. In America, it's filmed in the Asylum, and they had I think they had Savage come on there and Raven. So it took a while. We're going back to a time when the internet was getting there, but it still was like AskJeeves.com instead of Google and stuff like that. So that's how I first started I spoke to AJ in a hotel, in a lift with him and Joe, him and Samoa Joe, and I was talking about him about TNA. So it finally got the TV deal over here, and it went mad. I mean, it was like an alternative product to WWE. They had some unbelievable talent. We just mentioned a couple of them there. A couple of them we're going to talk about later on, like the Motor City Machine Guns, and Jay Lethal was there, and Christian Cage arguably had his best ever run in TNA when it was there.
I agree with that. I agree with that.
And I think it's had its peak. Listen, it's had its peaks and troughs. We had Angelina Love on last night, and she was saying that they didn't know where it was going to be. Like what they were turning up to shows, not knowing if they had a TV deal until like 11:59. But I think now, when we had Matt Raywald on about a month or two back, we were saying that the roster now has got like NXT, old school NXT vibes in terms of there is so much talent on there. You've got the experience, but you've also got some hungry talent on there. And again, they're showcased in the show.
I'm kind of with you there. It was an alternative, because you have to think, once WCW ended and went away, there wasn't really much competition for WWE. Well, it was WWE then. And so it was WWE. It was getting rammed down our throats, but it's all we kind of knew. And I was like you, Adam, when Impact Wrestling come along, I was like, oh, this is something new. And the six-sided ring intrigued me. They were off the bat, they had me, because I was like, what is this? This is like really. And then obviously AJ Styles, Samoa Joe, these were before we knew them as the people they are now in WWE and AEW, and Samoa Joe's obviously been to WWE. And they kind of went old schooly, as in they got all the ex-WWE guys and literally bought you could probably name an old school WWE guy at some stage. He's wrestled for Impact. Some of them had great runs. You mentioned Christian Cage there. Amazing run. Kurt Angle, unbelievable run. Bully Ray, who's still in Impact now, we're going to get to later, was the Aces and Eights thing is one of the best things I think I've seen in the last 20, 25 years. I absolutely loved that storyline with the Aces. I was trying to dig it out today for the podcast. I've got an Aces and Eights t-shirt somewhere. I just couldn't find. Probably wouldn't fit into it now, by the way. But I absolutely loved that time. I went to see it at Wembley Stadium, at Wembley Arena later on. Yeah, we went to see the Hogan and Bischoff. So it was a good alternative. And obviously then they transitioned from TNA to Impact. But for me, I've always been a TNA/Impact fan. Again, a bit like in the States. Over here, it switched around. We couldn't find it on TV over here. It was like 11:30 at night on ITV 27 or whatever it was. You know what I mean? It was one of them. It was just lost in the doldrums of TV. It was really hard for us to find. The way the world is now, you've only got to download an app. You pay $6.99 a month. You get all the Impact shows. You've got Fight TV. That has really, I think that's helped the likes of like Impact and AEW and UK promotions that are publicized on it like that. So for me, it's good to see Impact still going. We're going to get into the review in a minute. I found it difficult to watch last night, but wrapping my head around what it is now from when I last watched it, which probably was TNA and early Impact Wrestling, for me was a little bit of a clusterfuck, really. But Dave, how do you remember TNA Impact, and like you don't say it's transitioned from what it was then, like I said to Adam, to what it is now?
So when WCW was bought by the WWE or WWF at the time, I was very hopeful that the invasion angle would be better than it was. I think that goes for a lot of wrestling fans. There was certainly some good talent that went in. You like Booker T, Rob Van Dam, but some of the top level stars were sitting and getting paid by Turner. I think they had guaranteed contracts, so that stopped them going into WWE. So I went a little bit. I've always loved wrestling, but during that time, I probably was a little bit down on wrestling and wasn't as watching it as much. And then that probably continued for a few years. And then one day I was at work, and I'm a heating engineer, and I was servicing a fire, and there was this kid playing, like my customer's kid. They were playing with some wrestling figures in a wrestling ring. And on the telly,
playing with fire. Then I was like, Jesus, no wonder you.
They were playing with the fire. I was playing with the fire. And he put on TNA.
Mm-hmm.
And I'd never seen it. Now, I think I'd heard, because as you say, the internet wasn't as prevalent then. We did have it, but I certainly wasn't on like the dirt sheets like I'm on now, like every day checking the news. And we didn't have the access as much to American TV as easy as it is now, like you said, Andy. But he put TNA on, and there was a few stars on there that I knew. I was like, bloody hell. I didn't know where these guys had been for a few years. And suddenly they were popped up, and they were on this new promotion for me, TNA. So I think I'd heard mutterings that Jeff Jarrett was setting up his own promotion. Yeah, but that was about as much as I knew. And then sitting there, an X Division match come on. And
I love them, man.
Blown away.
Some of the best matches ever.
It wasn't an Ultimate X match, but I went on to them because I stuck with it then for a while. A few years really. I was trying to think when I really stopped watching TNA, but because I used to love the Cruiserweight division in WCW, that X Division seemed like a logical next step.
Transition,
it seemed like it was grown from the foundations of that Cruiserweight division. And then the more I watched, the more people I recognised, and then I started really liking the TNA's homegrowns. So your AJ Styles, as you say, Samoa Joe, Abyss, all these guys that were blended in with later on your Kurt Angles, your Christians. Jeff Jarrett was obviously doing a lot there. The Motor City Machine Guns, Team 3D went in. The Hardys, it was a who's who really at the time, and they were all at their peak.
Money.
So I think, did we have it on Bravo? I think it was on Bravo.
Challenge TV.
Challenge TV. I think it was on Bravo for like a month, and then it went to Challenge. It was on after Gladiators.
So it just bounced around in it, and that was difficult for us because we like consistency. We know every week when Raw's on, when SmackDown on, and the same with AEW.
I think Impact have that problem in general, didn't they, Dave? Especially over in the States, it moved. I think every week there was an announcement. When obviously it doesn't really affect us over here in the UK. It's like, right, next week you can find us on Discovery, or then you can something
Destination America.
Destination America. That didn't help TNA whatsoever. Don't get me wrong. We've been fortunate enough to sit down with Vince Russo and SoCal Val, and they were all like, look, you can't blame Hogan and Bischoff for what happened at TNA. The TV thing is you don't realize how big a TV deal plays in wrestling. Right. If you'd put if Monday Night Raw ever moved to a Discovery, or not that it ever would, but to give examples, that's where a lot of your income comes from. WWE being on Fox their adverts alone pay for half the stuff they have to do. TNA being on Discovery or some random 2Bob channel where no one's really watching and not getting any income from the adverts definitely didn't help them back in the day, and probably played a big part in their downfall, I'd say, lads.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. I think the best part about it now is the last maybe 6 to 12 months, it's flowing under the radar, and you got this is where you got to credit like the Scott D'Amores and the people like that. Just grabbed it by its balls and were like, right, okay,
run with it.
This is like fresh sheet of paper. They moved the headquarters to Canada. It's fresh sheet, as I said, fresh sheet of paper. We'll get it on like a network like where you can stream it. And we'll just, let's face it, the arenas are not massive. They're not going to, they're not 15,000 or anything like that. They're very nice, sort of, quaint arenas. But they put on some great shows, and the talent roster that we're going to get into is exciting if you're a wrestling fan to see some of these new ones like Chris Bay, and we haven't yet to see Speedball Mike Bailey. And you got the Macklins, and you've still got those experienced Bully Rays and Nick Aldis and people like that, and you've got Mickey James to come back for the women's division. They've got a very strong women's division. They've still got every division there is strong. In many from a blend of youth and experience.
Well, yeah, I 100% agree, mate.
It appears to me, lads, and as I stopped watching, probably the late 2017, 2018, something like that. But it seems to me they've really gone back to basics, and they've said, right, what's the most important thing about a wrestling show? And they've stopped trying to punch above where they were trying to compete with the WWE at one point. I think
they went to Monday nights, didn't they? Yeah, Hogan and Bischoff announced it on Impact one night.
Yeah, there was even a time when, as you say, all the financial difficulties with the TV deals, they could have been bought out by WWE. They could have gone out of business, similar to how WCW did. I'm glad they didn't, and I'm glad they've kind of refocused and they're bringing the product like we watched last night, because there's a lot of positives to take from it, and I'm enjoying being back into it, and I'm looking forward to have a chat about some of their wrestlers.
So I mean, let's get into last night. Like I say, I've subscribed to Impact Plus. By the way, you get all the old Impact shows on there, which I'm loving. That's some of my weekends sorted. But lads, let's get into last night's Impact. Again, like Adam, like I said to you before we started recording it, for us as wrestling fans and someone that's not had loads of eyes on the product, the main thing you've not got to do is compare it. In my opinion, too many wrestling fans across the world do this. They'll tune into Impact expecting to see a WWE or an AEW style production. For me, and I'm being completely honest, even the first 25 minutes, half an hour, when that long ass promo was going on, I wasn't struggling, but I just kind of had to train my brain to go, you're not watching SmackDown, you're not watching Raw, you're not watching Dynamite, and it was a long promo. In my opinion, probably could have been a little bit shorter. I got why they were setting up the main event, but Impact kicked off with like you say, the Motor City Machine Guns, and now got both the belts. For me, it was a good start. But again, I just had to train my brain to what I was watching.
One of the things I certainly done was started looking up about, because obviously they just come out of a strong pay-per-view against the Logs.
Really strong pay-per-view, good and all pay-per-view.
Chris Sabin beat Trey Miguel, and Trey, again, another talent like Trey Miguel is sensational.
Great talent.
I really can't wait to, when we start watching this more regularly and see these talents grow as the year goes on. So he beat Trey Miguel. Alex Shelley done a big surprise and beat Macklin for the champion. Macklin, again, you don't, sometimes you never, because obviously you think and I think he was ex-WWE fan. I think he was in WWE as a wrestler, Macklin. You never really got to see him. He was
the Forgotten Sons, I think.
Yeah, they was on there for 5 minutes, and I think if someone got in trouble and his partner got released, and
Dave, if my life ever depends on wrestling knowledge, I'm rigging you straight.
He's our guru for.
We've got a gun to your head. You need one person to answer a wrestling question. Yeah, let me just ring Dave.
Forgotten Sons.
Yeah, Forgotten Sons.
So going back to what I said, I agree. So I had to sort of get my head around what was going on. As I say, it's new to me. So, and again, you're right. You have to strip back. You're not watching a Hollywood film production. What you are watching is a young, hungry product that wants to thrive and get there. So you had to sort of play in your mind, yes, this isn't Monday Night Raw. It's like a Paul Heyman Smack promo. This isn't Monday Night Raw. This isn't Friday Night SmackDown. This is Impact Wrestling, and this is what they do.
Yeah.
The promo itself, I agree. It could have been shorter. It got the point across. You had the Guns that were sort of celebrating their reign. Aldis come out and said, I respect a lot of you, but you're losing that belt, because Aldis has got the shot at Shelley at Slammiversary, which is coming up in July, which was fine. And then you had kind of all the opponents like Trinity and then Deonna Purrazzo come out, who they're going against each other.
They kind of got all the promos in one, didn't they?
Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, maybe they could have done like a beatdown or something, and people come out. Maybe that could have been a better way. But it set up the main Santino, our good buddy, that was on.
I love him. Anytime I get to see him, mate.
When he come out, I had
his badge.
Yeah, I popped because Santino's he's a great wrestler as well. Don't get me wrong. Yeah, but Dave, what did you make of the start and the promo? Did you think it kind of just set the precedence, but it took a bit of time for me personally and Andy just to process what was going on?
Yeah, it's a bit of a reset as well after a pay-per-view, and then change direction in terms of the feuds and the storylines that they're going to run with. So that probably took a little bit more time, and they tried to do it all in one segment rather than multiple long segments across because I think next week they've already announced 4 matches.
Yes.
So I think week to week there will be more actual matches, where this week, because it's off the back of what happened at the weekend, we had a little bit more of that. I didn't mind because it was a reintroduction to me to the characters.
Yes.
Some that I knew, some that I recognised, Machine Guns, Nick Aldis, and then some of the guys I'm not as familiar with. So yeah, I didn't mind the start. But yeah, when we got onto the wrestling, I think the show really picked up.
It did, and we'll crack on Moose and Rich Swann. Like again, we were talking off air before we come on. When they got to the wrestling part, Rich Swann, we know WWE. Moose has kind of been a mainstay at Impact Wrestling for a while. These two put on a really strong competitive. I would have loved longer.
Mm-hmm. Couldn't agree more. I mean, I'd never, like you say, obviously the Moose is probably one of the first times I'm a bit like Dave. I'm getting to know the character. Like you say, once we watch it week after week after week, we're going to get to know the guys. I'm with you, Adam. I really wanted that match to go on longer. I mean, it was a great match. When, like you say, when they got to the wrestling, I was like, this is really good. This is actually really good. The only thing that kind of lets it down was the crowd for me. I don't know where it was or what, I think I could hear some geezer in the 8th row shout out about 8 million times.
Yeah, and I think
you suck. And I'm like, that's again, that might be me having to train my brain going, I'm not watching Dynamite. I'm not watching 15,000. Again, that might just be me having to go, okay, Andy, I've got to scale it back as a fan, I think.
I think you've got to remember that Impact have totally reset.
Yeah,
everything.
Literally started from day one again.
You've got to think production costs. You've got to think arena event costs and the talent costs and whatever else. So I think this is going to be. It's kind of like starting at the Asylum when they was in the Asylum at the start. Yeah. It's kind of like that's where they're starting again. And I think as the years go by, and if they keep on producing what they're producing, A, they're going to get more talent. B, they're going to get more eyes on the prize, and C, they'll start increasing. I do agree. It was a bit, you could hear people, one person.
I don't know how that affects the talent in the ring, because, you think you've got Trinity that's just come across from WWE, They might not, it might not affect them, but a lot of wrestlers that we've spoke to, that we watch, feed off the crowd energy. And it just seemed to me, when Moose was matey boy against the barrier, then poor young girls in the front rows, like they're only about 7-year-olds, they were like, what's going on here? You know what I mean? So yeah, again, I think it might just be me having to retrain my brain. But when the actual match started, I was like, I'm with you. I wanted him to go another 10, 15 minutes because I thought it was incredible.
What did you think, Dave, of that? It was really a competitive encounter, wasn't it?
Yeah, I was familiar with these guys. I remember the Moose used to come out years ago and do the Moose.
It was Moose. Yeah.
And then Rich Swann, obviously we're familiar with him from the WWE. Was it the Cruiserweight Classic? He
was in 205 quite a bit.
205, I was going to say, Used to watch him on the WWE Network.
I always thought he was a phenomenal talent. And I believe he's an Impact World Champion as well at some point.
Yeah.
So, again, great match, 2 different styles. But I cannot fault the wrestling. I cannot fault the quality. In terms of the crowd, I was a little bit the same, Andy. I'm just trying to think. They're basically scaled it back, and they're going to build over time. But for right now, they've gone with the intimate setting, and they even though there wasn't too many in attendance, that was probably a capacity because of the small venues that they're booking.
Yeah.
So I
Be
think
interested to see when they take it on the road to Australia. That's going to be good because their crowd, we know predominantly, we've seen events over there, WWE, WCW back in the day, you know, their crowds are amazing. They're a bit like us over here in the UK. They are mad on their wrestling. So I think when Impact I'll watch that as well. It's be quite handy for us. I think it's like 10 o'clock in the morning. Back then.
Yeah, it'd be good.
Yeah.
Really handy for us. I think when they go to Australia and hopefully when they come back to the UK and the likes of us three get to go there and watch it, I think that's when, you know, you'll really see Impact go, do you know what? I think we are generally onto something here.
Yeah, definitely. I totally agree. I want to move on because I couldn't believe it when I saw it because he's beefed up. Heath.
Oh
yeah.
What?
He's at the gym, isn't he?
Yeah. I mean,
no more one-man band for him.
No, he's definitely setting himself. They done a little thing before Impact. They had a dark match and he come out and gave him the wake-up call, I think.
I like the fact the dark match is on YouTube for free as well, by the way.
Yes, that's a
great shout, by the way. Yeah, go.
Heath was, he built up really, looks really well. He seems to be. I know he was out for about 11 months. I think he cut that promo to say, "Look, I was out for 11 months. I'd kind of had my dreams crushed over here. Come to Impact, was on a roll, bang, injury. He comes back, tries to get Rhino out of the group he was in, does that. Rhino gets injured, and he's now got to make his name for himself on his own, and he's done that. And then we cut to another former wrestler as well that I hadn't seen, Brian Myers. Matt Cardona's good buddy, and he's in there as well with the tag team, the Good Hands. And there was another backstage skit there, but it's good to see these guys that, you know, we saw in WWE perhaps didn't get those opportunities or time on the mic to be able to, you know, basically get over, which is what they're doing. Dave, for you, was it good to see these guys back in and having that sort of a more sort of prominent role on this TV?
Yeah, I absolutely thought the same, Ed. These guys were so talented, but they really didn't get as many opportunities in the WWE to show what they could do, or they were kind of relegated to minor roles. They were the curtain jerkers, you know, they were out the first match, or they were the ones that were out getting obliterated by the likes of Braun Strowman. Heath, I've always found him really funny and really entertaining. And in the 3MB stuff he did in WWE, I think if it wasn't for him, that wouldn't have gone anywhere, to be honest with you, because he was like the front man and he was so funny, and it was great to see him, you know, both in action in the ring when he did the running and the promo backstage. I thought it was perfect. You know, I thought he's such a talented guy. And I'm glad that he's now getting a chance to show the world what he can do in Impact.
Yeah.
Another thing I like about Impact as well, and I've always liked this, they give people, like, they put the world title on Bully Ray. Back in they give like that now. They Alex Shelley now. They kind of give these people the opportunity to say, do you know what? No, we trust you to carry our company. You know, you think like the Motor City Machine Guns back in the day were like, they were seen as mid-carders. Bully Ray was part of the Dudleys, great tag team, but they put the strap on him back in the day, in the TNA days and the whole Aces and Eights. I do like the fact that Impact say to the talents that, like you say, guys, might not have got a full opportunity elsewhere. I like the way they say to them, look, come into Impact. You know, you're not here to develop. You're not here because we don't think you're good enough. You know, didn't work out elsewhere. We believe in you, and we want you to carry our product on your shoulders. You know, the Motor City Machine Guns have been one of the greatest tag teams for God knows how many years now. And it's good to see both of them now get significant title runs, hopefully, that they're going to run for a long time. And Impact say to them, do you know what? We trust you to carry our company.
Exactly. And speaking of Bully Ray, it kind of fits nicely into the next segment, which he had written a letter of complaint.
This segment cracked me up.
This was funny.
This was funny. I love Bully Ray, man. I love him.
I will tell you what, the deliverance on that promo shows you why Bully Ray is one of the great. I don't care when he's one of the greats of all time, whether you put a tag team or a single.
Yeah,
he delivered this promo as like he was an unhappy work colleague. When you know the ones that go to their boss and they get. And we know. So what happened at Against All Odds was there was this 8-4-1 match where it started as an 8-man, ends up in a fatal 4-way, and the winner goes on to face Alex Shelley, which was Nick Aldis. But in that match, Scott D'Amore come out and hit him with a chair because a couple of weeks ago, Bully Ray put him through a flaming table. So Bully Ray thinks being hit with a chair warrants a unsafe working environment complaint.
No, he's got a point.
It's got a point. But anyway, the deliverance was absolutely unbelievable. He was just like that fucking arsehole at work that, you know, just was unhappy. Scott D'Amore comes out, kind of cuts a little bit of a promo, then says like, you know, I'm taking a leave of absence after the board meeting. Then Macklin comes out and they start beating him up, and then the lights go out. And I'm thinking, hang on, who's it? And then like the thunder, and you're thinking,
I
like,
thought it was Sting.
Yeah, Sting.
I thought it was the Undertaker.
And then PCO, and I was saying to Andy before, he was one of the Quebecers in the WWE. Yeah. He comes out and he's like battering his chest like this, and he takes these. I mean, they were quite stiff, some of them shots that he was taking to the back.
Yeah, Bully Ray didn't hold back.
Yeah, he just breaks out and beats them up, and then they run off. And Scott D'Amore announces that actually, before he takes his leave of absence, he's booked the match for Slammiversary.
Slammiversary, the tag team match.
Him and PCO against Bully Ray and Macklin. But Dave, I thought that promo was absolutely superb.
Oh, so I'm a huge fan of Busted Open. Bully Ray,
yeah. I love it every day. Never miss it. Love it.
So when we put our poll out, and it was Impact versus MLW, both great options, and we love our wrestling, so we would have done either. But the good thing for me of Impact winning was me being able to see Bully Ray and what he's doing in the ring, as well as listening to him on the radio show. This was just so good. His facial expressions when Scott D'Amore said that the board had agreed with Bully's letter.
Cap up.
Put his cap up, and the smile that grew on his face, it was like the Grinch, you know, as it just was getting a bigger smile. It was so good. Yeah, I really enjoyed this, and it's set up a tag team match, hasn't it?
Yeah, Andy, what did you make of it? I thought you was
mate, honestly, I can if somehow Bully Ray listens to this, I have been tweeting him non-stop. Really, he's one of my dream guests. I saw the interview that he done with Stone Cold Steve Austin on the day. It's probably my most favorite Broken Skull with Stone Cold that I've watched. I literally, like I mentioned earlier, Aces and Eights are probably my most favorite thing ever in TNA for me. I was obsessed with it, and because you never quite know how these things are going to go when they come out of being the Dudley Boys and one of the greatest tag teams. They'll go down as one of the greatest tag teams of all time, like we done our top 10 a couple of weeks ago. Anytime I get to see Bully Ray do anything, I'm with Dave. Whether it's on the radio, whether now we're watching Impact, I absolutely love the guy. I think he's mine for wrestling, in the ring, out the ring, creative, whatever he's doing. Sign me up. I'm watching it. This promo had when he come out with his paper and he said, I want to just go to human resources. You know, if you're going to want some, if anyone needs to learn anything about promos in Impact or any form of wrestling, watch a promo that Bully Ray cuts. I don't think the man could cut a Brad promo if his life depended on it. He is fantastic. I absolutely loved it. I'm not sure how this match is going to go at Slammiversary, by the way. Scott D'Amore, I don't know what he's like in the ring, but if Bully Ray's there, I'm there.
To give you an inkling, PCO got his mouth stapled in the last pay-per-view. So that gives you an idea of where it's going to go. But we mentioned AEW earlier on, and backstage, Kazarian was there. I think Dave...
He was only in the AEW like a few months ago.
I think Dave told me a couple of weeks ago that he made the jump into Impact, and there was a bit with him. They were walking back, Bully Ray and Macklin, and they walked up to... who was I talking about? Sorry, Kaz. Sorry, thank you. They walked up to Kaz. There was kind of a bit to do. Eddie Edwards with a kendo stick, channeling his inner Sandman. They're not him and Kaz
didn't get on.
Talking about that. That's kind of set up a match for next week. Dave, was that one of the ones that was announced?
I think they've announced.
So yes, so they talked about their training. I think Killer Kowalski.
Yes,
trained them both, and that was their bond, even though they didn't like each other.
Yeah.
So Kazarian had a couple of years left on his AEW contract, but he wasn't happy with what he was doing, and he thought he had so much more to offer. He was a big star in the earlier days of TNA, and he's been there. He tagged with Christopher Daniels over there, didn't he?
Yeah.
For a long time as well. So he's gone, you know what? I'm going to back myself here, and I'm going to show what I can do. And he could have just sat there at AEW getting paid for 2 years, but he wanted to go out and perform. And I think he made a really brave and great decision because obviously he's one of the top stars now at Impact.
Yeah, and coincidentally, before the Slammiversary, they've announced that Macklin gets his rematch in Australia, night 2, I think it is, against Shelley. And Macklin cut a really intense promo earlier on in the show, and it was really if you weren't hyped for the match, you were after that he can cut a good promo as well, Macklin. But the next match was another version of the Bullet Club, guys. Bullet Club ABC. Now, I will say this. Again, we kind of spoke about potentially doing Impact. I watched Chris Bay a couple of weeks ago on a match. It was a tag match on Impact. It was against the Good Hands, funnily enough, Brian Myers' team. And it was one of those matches where I just sat there and went, oh my God. Like, when you talk talent on the roster, Ace Austin and Chris Bay, Bullet Club ABC, are on another level already. And they were going against Decay, Crazy Steve, Black Taurus, who I've never seen before, but he cuts quite a menacing. Wow. Again, I feel, maybe because of time constraints, the early part of it, this match, again, I would have given it another 10. I would love another 10, 15 minutes of it. I don't know what you guys thought.
That's my only thing with the entire show. I wanted the wrestling to go on a little bit longer. I mean, you don't get me wrong, I get why you've got to do these promos, but it's like all of us said at the start, they could shorten them. And if you give us that in-ring quality style wrestling, no one's going to complain that a promo was cut for 5 minutes short. Because I'm with you, mate. I thought the match itself, but again, when we said it at the start, when the wrestling started, I don't really know the guy. You know what I mean? Getting into it, I was like, wow, this is really good. They're like the standard of wrestling. Like Matt said when we had him on a couple of months ago, he said that he thinks they've got one of the best rosters in wrestling. When you see the in-ring stuff, taking the promos aside, you know what I mean? Promos they're not for everyone, and these things, it's how they come across and the audience play a part. But the in-ring stuff that I saw from Impact last night, or, when I watched it, up there with anything you've seen. WWE, AEW, New Japan, you're like, this is really good. Yes,
so much creativity as well, wasn't there? There's moves that I hadn't seen before, which shocks me every time I see a move that I haven't seen before because of watching wrestling for so long. But those guys at ABC, they're so innovative, and I'm looking forward to seeing a lot more of
that finisher matches. They do.
Yeah, brilliant.
I was like, hello. Yeah. It was incredible. No, Dave, I was like, I haven't seen this before. This is like, it's something when you think we've been watching wrestling, 30 odd years, whatever it is. You're like, and you're still, even now. Yeah, I enjoyed it.
It was really good to see more of it. There was a little bit between them and the Machine Guns as they come back. I like that though. When the cameraman followed them again. Something that, we haven't seen very often in wrestling. No. Very often that the cameraman will follow. You normally think an attack's coming or something like that, but very nice that you've got to follow it through from the back, from the front to the back, and see them. That. It was really good. Again, something that we haven't seen in a while.
It makes you stand out as well, doesn't it? Impact, they can do things that separate them, because we can all sit here and watch a WWE and AEW, and you kind of know the flow of the show. If Impact can do something, just something small and a little nuance like that, and like us as wrestling fans will go, you know what, that's good. And if they can keep putting these little bits in, you'll be like, that's something that I don't see on, the big leagues, quote unquote. And fair play to them.
They had a little thing with this guy called Bhupinder. I can't remember I can't pronounce it. Dave, maybe you can. I don't know. Can you?
Just Bhupinder at the minute, mate.
Yeah, just Bhupinder.
on the bottle of that.
Yeah. I can't. I'm not. You know what I'm like with names. So that he's got like a little documentary thing, I think, coming out
after Impact next week.
There's Mr. Dango, who we haven't seen since the WWE days.
I started singing his theme tune when I saw him.
But again, he's transformed from this ballet dancer that was over. Don't get me wrong. Then they had like the Fashion Files with him and Breeze. But he's now this different. There's another side to him that we haven't seen. And again, you go to an Impact Wrestling and you can kind of have another character. He's Dirty Dango, I think, now. But again, it was great to see him that's transitioned into something new. And we look forward to seeing what happens with him. They announced that Diona's defending her title coming up in Australia as well. So before she takes on Trinity. And they said that if the person that she's fighting, and forgive me, her last name is, again, I think it's one of those weird ones that I can't. No, it's not because she's Spanish or anything like that, but it's Giselle Shaw. It should be
Shaw.
Jesus Christ, like Luke Shaw. If she wins, it goes into a freeway Slammiversary. So what I like about this, though, and this is, again, something that Impact has done that other promotions don't, you can then say, well, hold on a minute, then at least they've said if that person wins, because like we've got this thing with Seth Rollins next week. He's probably got 2 title shots coming up, and then he comes over for Money in the Bank, and we know he's defending against Finn. But what they haven't said is, well, if Seth loses,
yeah,
it brings you think, well, he's not going to lose it.
Yeah, it makes you already think, well, I might as well not watch this because he's not going to win.
So at least now with Impact, what they've done is they've thrown that down and given you I need to watch this, because now they're saying they
and it's given the Australia audience something to think, oh, we might see a title change here.
Yeah, and it's like, even with us, but even with the viewers at home, it's like, okay, well, at least we know now it's not a foregone conclusion that he's going to Slammiversary or she's going to Slammiversary as champion, because they've got something there. I like that, because, again, from a viewer's perspective, you want to watch title matches and think, okay, there might be a change. And they've given you a reason to think there might be a title change.
Yeah, no, I agree, mate.
What do you think, David? Are you sort of along that mantra, at least, even if they doesn't change, that it's there? There's a question mark.
Well, that's what we spoke about in the past. Too many times you see title matches and it's obvious the outcome. The match might go a certain way, but ultimately the winner is going to be the champion and they're going to retain. It's always so much better when you've got the possibility that there's going to be an upset or a title change. You want the audience to really feel that going into these matches. So yeah, totally agree, mate.
And next week, we've mentioned about a few of these. We're going to see some more wrestling next week, which is great. So they've got OVE against Myers and the Good Hands in a 6-man. They've got a design that teased a bit of tension. I think the design, Dave, one of those was Impact, AEW's old guy in there.
Yeah, I'll just get it up.
I can't remember who it is. Is it Alan Angels?
The bald-headed guy sitting at the back.
Yeah,
I recognised him straight away. Do you know what? I thought he was in WWE at some stage.
No, I'm sure he's in. It doesn't matter. It's all right.
I thought I saw him in NXT, old school NXT.
May have done. But anyway, they take on another one that I can't wait to. 2 people I can't wait to see. Jonathan Gresham, Speedball Mike Bailey. I need to see that, because those two are. I mean, John Gresham is like he's got built. He's not necessarily like big in terms of height, but he's built and he can go. He had a quick one in Ring of Honor, which he didn't. Obviously, him and Tony Khan had a bit of a thing, and he left, and he's now come into his own. We got Taylor Wilde, who's one half of the tag team champions, against Killer Kelly, and Eddie Edwards and Kazarian will join against Bully Ray and Steve Macklin. So next week looks really action packed. Looks like we're going to get that wish of probably more wrestling and a bit less of the promos next week. But it goes on nicely to a really fun 10-person tag main event, Andy.
You know what? When we went through the promo at the start, and I was like, you don't really see a main event 10-person tag into women,
gender,
men. You don't. I thought it was brilliant. I thought, again, it comes back to what we're saying. You wouldn't see that main event at AEW or WWE, Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite. They wouldn't. No way would they dream of putting that as the main event. I thought it was I would like to have maybe seen it go a little bit longer, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, and it got the point across at the end with Aldous, coming up with the belt, and then him thinking that they were going to, and then bam, hits Shelley with the title. It sets up obviously Slammiversary. I thought it was storytelling 101 for wrestling fans, for wrestlers. I thought they'd done it. I thought it was tremendous. Everyone, like Trinity got her, everyone had their spot, setting up their matches that are probably either going to be, the segments coming up next week on Impact, and then moving forward to Slammiversary. I thought it was perfect. I wasn't quite sure how it was all going to go with the 10 tag, but I thought, again, I've got to give kudos to Impact Wrestling. I thought they'd done it really well. And Aldous, anytime I get to see him wrestle, I think he's going to be an absolute megastar.
Yeah, me too.
Talking about things that Impact do differently, they do quite a bit of men against women matches, or the mixed, they don't have to get out the ring when the woman's tagged in. They will fight against each other. And I think they had Tessa Blanchard in a big feud with Sami Callihan.
Yeah,
in the past few.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think that's something different that the other companies don't do.
Have a women's world heavyweight champion.
Yeah,
they did. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, geez, you don't get more outside the box than that. I mean, if you want to get eyes on your product and people talking about you, you do that. I put it to the equivalent of, imagine one of our soccer teams over here, football teams, saying, you know what, we're going to give the main job at Liverpool to a woman. going to be the manager kind of thing. I mean, but honestly, I think what Impact I like when they think outside the box. You can do 10 things, 8 of them might work, 2 of them might not, but at least they're giving these things a go, which is what I like in a wrestling company.
Yeah, they're taking the opportunity, isn't they? That's the thing. Like, it's not like a let's play it safe thing. It's like, let's try this. Let's give this. If it doesn't work, they don't do it again, do they? You know, that's the end of that. But they're taking that opportunity to.
Yeah, it's not like they're doing a Punjabi prison match. You know what I mean? Jesus, no, not that crazy. But what they are trying, good.
Yeah, there's so much wrestling, isn't there? They had to find a way to differentiate and stand out, and they're doing exactly that. So
and as long as they don't, I think in their mind, what Impact and TNA needs to do back in the day, and AEW still do it to an extent. And I'm getting back into my AEW. Don't worry about what WWE and AEW and Ring of back in the day with Dixie Carter and Bischoff and all them guys. Their main focus was, let's do what WWE are doing, but better. Let's beat them. Let's go to Monday nights. Let's get all this talent across. Let's try and compete with this absolute juggernaut that's been around since the year dot. What I like about Impact, like Adam said earlier, scale it back, start again, slowly build it up. You know, you're gonna get your diehards. You're gonna get people like us now coming to talk about it, which is good. It's eyes on your product. So what I do like about it, and when we spoke to Matt a couple of weeks ago, they're not obsessed with we've got to be this big wrestling powerhouse. Put on a good product, put on good wrestling shows, and people will watch no matter what you do.
Yeah, exactly.
Circle back to the design, lads. There was one WWE guy and one AEW guy. So it's Alan Angels, who was in the Dark Order.
Yes, that was
and Connor, who was
in the Ascension, the big guy.
There you go. That's the dude I meant. Yep.
Yeah. So the ball guy at the front was Alan Angels from
and the dude at the back. He had the diamond thing on his head in WWE. Yeah.
He goes as Con now, Kon. That's his new. Shortened version of what he was doing in WWE, but definitely a different presentation for him.
Yeah, good. And let's hope we see more. He was quite his Ascension were quite good. They were victims of the roster call up.
Get lost in the shuffle.
They were great in NXT.
Yeah, again, so it was one of those times where if you got called up, you dreaded it. But now they've sorted out. But Impact Wrestling first week, lots of fun. Can't wait to next week to do it again. More matches on the show. Some more great showcase talent. I can't wait to see John Gresham next week and Speedball Bailey. I'm really looking forward to that because I hear so much good things about them. I've seen a lot of their matches on social media. So to now be able to watch them next week as a team, I personally can't wait for it. What do you guys overall? Good show?
Solid 8 out of 10.
Yep.
Yeah, I tend to agree. If I was rating it a 10, same as you, Andy, I'd give it a strong 8. And it's definitely got me back. It's definitely got me now. I want to go back for more. We all three of us, and probably a lot of people.
We could not watch more wrestling if we tried.
Yeah, but this now it's definitely something different. I won't be thinking, I've got to watch another 2 hours of wrestling that's similar to what I've already watched 5 hours of next week.
Yeah,
it's a different product,
and they've got their own Forbidden Door coming up. Multiverse.
I saw that with Multiverse with New Japan Wrestling. Yeah, I mean that's going to be.
May see some crossovers from what we watch on other shows coming over to Impact.
We were talking to Angelina about this last night. These younger wrestling promoters or the people in charge at the minute, across the board, they just seem to be open to different things that we haven't seen before, and. Or not helping each other, so they're helping their own product. But if they can help the other products as well, then great. They're not trying to put them out of business. They're not trying to hold people down.
No,
they seemingly, like AEW, have let people go to Impact when they've said, they can, like Kazarian, for example. They could have said, no, you're not going anywhere. We're keeping you. They wanted to go over there at Impact, and they were all for it because they know what a good place it was to wrestle, and they have had a relationship with them in the past as well. So
Mickie James entered the Rumble as the Impact Women's Champion.
She did, and there you go. And
that's something WWE wouldn't have done.
Never. I mean, Jericho appeared on Stone Cold's podcast when he was
talked to AEW.
Talked to AEW, you know what I mean? Yeah,
I love it as a wrestling.
Walls are being knocked down over the years, I think.
They
Well,
don't.
that's a good
They
thing,
don't
though, isn't it?
pretend they
Yeah.
don't exist anymore.
No,
When I
gone
used
are
to
the
watch
days of,
WWE,
yeah.
they used to just you watch it and think, do they? And they're not aware of like WCW, ECW, you know, because they just didn't at times acknowledge any other wrestling other than what they were doing. So yeah, so now it's great that they'll talk about different world champions.
Yeah, exactly that. And more to come for us for Impact Wrestling. So show one's done in the books. Can't wait for next week. Andy, we've got some things coming up. We've had a surprise guest that's said we can interview him today, so we're going to go and do that.
Yeah, we've got another tune in. Make sure you go and subscribe to our YouTube, and you can find us on Twitter at HTT Buckle. We've got so many shows coming up, but we're back. We've got Collision coming up over the weekend. I know Dave and Munzie are going to do a Rampage review. We've got SmackDown to talk about over the weekend. But yeah, I'm looking forward to talking more Impact next week, lads.
Yeah.
Been a pleasure. Been a pleasure.
Been an absolute pleasure. So, guys, that's been the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast. We have our first Impact Wrestling review. Dave, you need to get gimmicks sorted out for you, man.
I know. I couldn't think of anything that was worthy of a gimmick.
Okay, keep that head on for that.
I'm not even gonna. Yeah, I'll create something.
You'll create something, and you don't need a gimmick. You're just.
No, I don't bloody want one.
I'll try and find one. Maybe I can be Bullet Club A. I'm Bullet Club ARC. That's my initials.
Bullet Club Arse.
Arc, not
Oh,
Arc.
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 Jesus.
Arc.
You know,
Bullet Club Arc. There you go. That's mine. I can do that. So this has been the Hitting the Turnbuckle podcast for Dave Robertson, Andy Burrows, and me, Adam Cousins. And we will be back very soon. Buckle down. Stay safe. Goodbye.